All right, let's pull back the curtain on the world of cyber attacks. We hear about hacks and data breaches all the time, right? But what's really going on behind the scenes?
So over the next few minutes, we're going to get inside an attacker's head. We'll break down the why, the how, and the what of what they do. Because here's the thing, it's not random chaos at all. It's actually a pretty calculated process.
Okay, so before we can even talk about how they do it, we've got to understand why. I mean, what's the motivation? What drives someone to launch a cyber attack in the first place? It turns out, knowing that is pretty much step one for building any kind of defense.
And wow, right off the bat, you can see it's not just one single thing. The reasons are all over the map. You've got everything from pure financial gain and corporate espionage to making a political statement or even just a personal grudge.
Yeah, the biggest slice of that pie? It's just about money, plain and simple. You got to think of these attackers less like lone hackers in a basement and more like, well, businesses. Their whole goal is profit, so they focus on stuff that pays out fast. Stealing credit card data, scams, that kind of thing.
But then you have the complete opposite end of the spectrum. We're talking about super sophisticated spying operations. These are often nation-state actors, government-backed groups. And their goal isn't cash, it's information. They're after top-secret government data or valuable corporate trade secrets to get a leg up, politically or militarily.
And then there's this whole other category, where it's not about the money and it's not about the secrets, it's about sending a message. This is the world of hacktivism. Think of groups using their skills to protest something they disagree with, or to totally trash the reputation of a company they see as the bad guy.
It's also really important to remember that not all threats are from some shadowy figure on the other side of the world. Sometimes the call is coming from inside the house. You have your malicious insider. Think of a fired employee who wants revenge. But then you have the negligent insider. And that could be literally anyone. Someone who means well but just clicks on the wrong link by accident. The intent couldn't be more different, but the damage, it can be just as bad.
Okay, so we've got the why down. We understand the motives. But what about the how? How do they actually do it? Well, it turns out there's a script, a playbook, and most attacks follow it pretty closely. So let's break down the anatomy of what that looks like.
The best way to think about it is like a classic movie heist. Seriously, step one, you gotta get in the building. That's initial access. Then you gotta lay low, stay hidden. That's persistence. Next, you move around, find the vault. That's lateral movement. And finally, you grab the goods and get out without anyone noticing. It's a very logical, step-by-step process. And look, everything comes down to that very first step, getting initial access. It's all about finding that one tiny crack in the armor. Could be a bad password, a piece of software that hasn't been updated, or, tricking an employee. They just need one way in to get that initial foothold.
So, to pull off this playbook, what are they using? What's in their toolkit? Let's take a look at some of the most common and frankly most effective weapons in their arsenal.
All right, number one on the list, especially for getting that initial access, has to be phishing. And the reason it's so darn effective is that it doesn't attack computers, it attacks us. It's all about human psychology, about tricking someone into making a mistake.
I mean, come on. We've all gotten these emails, right? The ones that look like they're from your bank saying, "Urgent, verify your account now." They're built to make you panic and click before you think. You land on a fake login page that looks totally legit, but its only job is to steal your password the second you type it in.
Okay, so let's say the attacker is in. What happens next? Well, if their motive is money, one of the go-to weapons is ransomware. And this stuff is just awful. The best analogy really is digital kidnapping. They take all your files hostage. And how it works is brutally simple. 1 minute, you're working on a file. The next, everything is encrypted and locked. A message pops up on your screen demanding a ransom, and they always want to be paid in cryptocurrency because it's so hard to trace. From their perspective, it's a terrifyingly effective business model.
And the cost to get your digital life back? It can be thousands of dollars. But here's the real kicker. Even if you pay, there's absolutely no guarantee you'll get your files back. They might just take the money and run. But okay, what about the most sophisticated, the most dangerous attacks? The ones that nobody sees coming? That brings us to something called a zero-day exploit. And the name itself tells you everything you need to know.
What makes a 0-day so powerful is that, by definition, there's no patch, no fix, no defense for it yet. The attacker has found a brand new vulnerability that the software developers don't even know exists. It is the ultimate secret weapon.
Attackers are also getting really creative. They know a direct attack on a big company can be tough.
So why bother trying to break down the castle walls when you could just hide in the delivery wagon? That's the idea behind a supply chain attack. They hack a smaller, less secure company that provides software or services to their real target, and then they just ride that trusted connection right through the front gate.
So the attacker's in. Mission accomplished, right? Not even close. Getting in is just the beginning. Now comes the hard part, staying there without getting caught. For them, being invisible is just as important as breaking in.
And the way they do this is with something called a command and control server, or C2 for short. Think of it like their remote headquarters. It's a hidden server somewhere on the internet that lets them send commands to the infected computers and, of course, pull out any stolen data.
One of the sneakiest techniques they use to stay connected is called beaconing. The infected machine doesn't scream for help. Instead, it just sends out these tiny, quiet, regular signals back to the C2 server. It's like a little heartbeat, just saying, I'm still here, I'm still online. And because these signals are so small and look like normal internet traffic, they are incredibly hard to detect. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, you start to see it, right? Cyber attacks aren't just some random act of magic. They follow a pattern. They follow a playbook. From the motive to the method, it's a logical process. And knowing that playbook, well, that's the absolute key to figuring out how to stop them.
Because really, understanding their playbook is the first and most important step. But it also forces you to ask a tough question. Now that you've seen their strategy, how strong is the lock on your own digital door?